Introduction to Drug Abuse. A drug is known to be a substance that is used to prevent, diagnose, treat, or relieve symptoms of a disease or an abnormal condition. It basically affects an individual in many ways, the function of the brain and the rest of the body, as well as causes changes in mood, thoughts, awareness, and behavior of an individual. Drugs have the capability to make an individual unpredictable and dangerous, as a person who is negatively affected by drugs tend to lose their senses. However, the effects of drugs differ individually, also depending on the type of drug used. Plant sauce is the most plethoric source of drug that almost 90% of drugs are obtained from. Drugs can be obtained from every part of the plant, such as from leaves of tulsi and neem plants, as well as coffee beans and rose flowers. Consuming drugs without obeying the right prescription by professionals lead to a crime that is known as drug abuse. Drug abuse is the use of illegal drugs or the use of prescription or over-the-counter drugs for purposes other than those for which they are meant to be used for, or in excessive amounts. The most common drug abused worldwide include cannabis, marijuana, and hashish. According to a report by the WHO, about 5.5% of the global population, that is mainly aged between 15 to 64 years, have used psychoactive drugs in the previous year. There are 5 countries with the most worst drug issues, that is Iran, Afghanistan, Russia, the United States, and Great Britain. There is a very close relationship between drug abuse and delinquency. Drug abusers are to commit crimes such as theft and prostitution in order to pay for their drugs that cost a lot, as drug abusers are mostly jobless and homeless. An estimated of 2/3 of inmates in Malaysia's prison are convicted for drug-related offences.
Today, we'll be splitting the drugs into 7 different categories. The first one will be central nervous system depressant. This type of drugs will slow down the operation of the brain and body. For example, alcohol, anti-anxiety tranquilizers like Valium and Librium, GHB, which is gamma hydroxybutyrate, and antidepressant like Zoloft and Paxil. The second category will be central nervous system stimulants. This type of drugs will accelerate the heart rate, elevate blood pressure, speed up or overstimulate the body. The examples are cocaine, crack cocaine, amphetamines, methamphetamines, or also known as crack. The third category will be hallucinogens. This type of drugs will affect a person's senses and change the way they see, hear, taste, smell, and feel things. The examples are LSD, opioid, MDMA, or known as ecstasy. Moving on is the dissociative anesthetic. This type of drugs will inhibit the pain by cutting off or dissociating the brain's perception of pain. The examples are PCP, which is phenylcyclohexylpyridine, and also dextromethorphan. Moving on to the fifth category, which is the narcotics analgesic. This type of drugs will relieve pain, induce euphoria, and create mood changes. For example, opium, codeine, heroin, and also morphine. Next, it will be the inhalants. Inhalants contains a wide variety of breathable substances that produce mind-altering results and effects. For example, pain, gasoline, pain thinners, and also hairsprays. The last category will be cannabis, or also known as marijuana for its scientific name. The active ingredient is delta-9-THC. The examples are cannabinoids and also dronabinol.
Based on a survey conducted in 2022, about 9.8% of the drug users in Malaysia are aged from 15 to 18 years old. Next, about 25.9% of the drug users in Malaysia are 19 to 24 years old, while there is a 27.8%.
The cry is a very distressed one, a very high-pitched one, and no effort to console seems to help the baby.
One baby every half an hour in the United States is born addicted to drugs.
We have had cases where the mother admits that I just shot up heroin in the parking lot before I came in to deliver my baby.
While many people use drugs, only a small percentage of drug abusers runs in families, suggesting genetics is one of the causes of drug abuse. While having parents that abuse drugs puts a child at risk, it is possible for the child to grow up without drug abuse problems. It is also possible to abuse drugs without having any other drug abuser in the family. Drug abuse often occurs alongside other conditions like mental illness. While mental illness itself is not thought to cause drug abuse, one cause may indicate and be complicated by the other. Mental health issues such as feeling overwhelmed, feeling lost, or high-stress situations might cause individuals to use medication or substance and escape. There are certain life circumstances, particularly among younger users, that are risk factors for drug abuse. Parental abuse and neglect are commonly seen as part of the cause of drug abuse. An adolescent or pre-adolescent may be trying to gain attention from an inattentive parent or escape from an abusive parent by using drugs. A drug user or the presence of drugs in the home can also be a major cause of drug abuse.
There are two types of physical effects, which are short-term and long-term effects. Okay, so now I'll be explaining about the short-term physical effects when there is high consumption of drugs. So the first short-term effect is that you will feel dizzy and not being aware of the surrounding. Next is erratic and violent behavior. You also have slurred speech when there is high consumption of alcohol. Other than that, your body temperature, heart rate, and also your blood pressure will increase. And last but not least is that you will have vomiting. Long-term physical effects such as chronic bronchitis, weight loss, lung cancer from smoking, or risk of HIV or hepatitis from shared needles. High consumption of drugs not only affects the body physically but also mentally. So now I'll be explaining about the few types of mental effects when there is high consumption of drugs. So the first one is you will have depression and you will also feel anxious. Other than that, you will also have hallucination when there is high consumption of magic mushrooms. And last but not least is you will have schizophrenia, which is caused by high consumption of cocaine. And schizophrenia is actually a mental disorder where people interpret reality abnormally. And next, schizophrenia may result in combinations of hallucination, delusions, and extremely disordered thinking and behavior. So usually people with schizophrenia are treated with antipsychotic drugs, which requires a long time treatment.
Have you ever think about how to solve or reduce the cases of drug abuse? Firstly, you can seek help from counseling or therapy. People who cannot control themselves from getting rid of drugs is encouraged to involve in counseling with a professional therapist or licensed drug and alcohol counselor. You can tell the therapist what you are facing and they will give you some advices so that you can slowly quit drugs. Additionally, if you have any sign of mental health problems like depression or anxiety, you can also seek for an evaluation from the therapist. Firstly, you can seek help from counseling or therapy. People who cannot control themselves from getting rid of drugs is encouraged to involve in counseling with a professional therapist or licensed drug and alcohol counselor. You can tell the therapist what you are facing and they will give you some advices so that you can slowly quit drugs. Secondly, you are encouraged to adopt a stress reduction program like an indoor or outdoor activity. For example, play a musical instrument or extreme aquatic sport like surf can help you to benefit yourself when you are free and help to cope with daily stresses so that you won't choose to take drugs to relieve stress. Thirdly, practice a healthy lifestyle by doing exercise routinely can help to relieve stress and also keep yourself fit. Exercise has been shown in some studies to be effective for improving depression and also add-on treatment for those taking antidepressant medications. Fourth, manage a daily schedule to avoid excess idle time so that you can work hard at the same time play hard. Balance between work and entertainment is very essential so that you won't be feeling too stressed and avoid overthinking.